O'clock. Okay, good. Oh, it's starting? Okay. Hi, this is Miss Melinda. And so we're not teaching linguistics class tonight. Um, I got sick of, I just felt like I was rambling to you guys and all these difficult words. And you and I, some of the words we wouldn't know what they meant or. I know how to pronounce them because I'm really good with language, but they're hard. They're hard words, and I just got tired of. It's not easy to understand the phonetics. So we're gonna take a break with linguistics. I'm gonna go with my. I'm a court reporter just by education at McCormick College. We were on LaSalle Street right across from the Board of Trade back like in 88, 89, 90, 91. And I got up to 180 words a minute. So then I switched to another college, Triton. And then I switched back to McCormick and graduated in '08 downtown Chicago in paralegal studies, associate degree in paralegal studies. So I'm a court reporter by 180 words per minute and a paralegal. So we're gonna do what I was really eventually gonna get to anyway, and that's law. Okay, so we're gonna do an interesting one, and I actually won't have to try to hold the book up or look at the book. I can take my glasses off and relax after I read what they have for voir dire. I'm going to tell you out of my own mind if I'm working a case and we're picking the voir dire. I'm going to tell you all the things that I would think of as a lawyer. But first, I'm going to tell you what the dictionary and this law. This is my law book. It's a law dictionary. See, Merriam-Webster's Dictionary of Law. So we're going to have fun because I'm going to teach you a lot of law rhetoric. And way down the road, I was always planning on maybe taking you through a trial. I only do like high profile, but we're gonna stick with the story that. I gotta sit up right, and this has to be farther. Yeah, it's it's there. That's better, right? Okay. So I'll quickly read their voir dire. So they got voir dire, the first one, and it's spelled VOIR space DIRE. Anglo, French, to speak the truth, a formal examination, especially to determine qualification as of a proposed witness. The judge admitted the witness's expert testimony after a voir dire by the attorney, especially the act or process of questioning prospective jurors to determine which are qualified as by freedom from bias and suited for service on a jury. So they can't, your jurors can't be biased. Let me teach you that out of my own brain, and when I finish this, that I'm teaching you voir dire out of the book. Okay, so let's see now. So judge admitted the witness's expert testimony after a voir dire by the attorney. The act or process of questioning prospective jurors determine which are qualified as by freedom from bias is what they're really looking for, and suited for service on jury. And then there's just one more they have, and it says voir dire, voir dired, and voir diring. To examine in a voir dire, the witness outside the presence of the jury, voir diring prospective jurors as to their beliefs concerning the death penalty. Okay, that's it. State. Yeah, I'm surprised they don't have a lot more in voir dire, but they don't. But I can tell you about the voir dire. So, let me see real quickly. Okay. So you gotta hold it back. All right. So, when picking a voir dire, it's hot cocoa's delicious, but it's hot. Oh, it's delicious. All right. Okay. So when you're picking a voir dire, that is one of the most important things a lawyer will have to do and get it right. A voir dire can actually a voir dire can actually cause you to lose or win a trial. Almost all by itself. You could have like a dynamite trial going. Okay, so, well, I normally call myself a criminal defense attorney, but I don't like to call myself that kind of attorney anymore. So I like to call me, like, if there was a trial from a corporate office, say downtown, a corporate company in a high-rise was having a lawsuit, I'd like to think of myself as that type of lawyer. Or I would be a lawyer for people suing for mental and emotional abuse. Beyond a reasonable doubt, it's a crime. And it's a crime that's not taken very serious in our country. In a nursing home, in a lot of places. This has got to get right. So when you're picking a voir dire, okay, so what happens is, let me use the famous trial of the century, the O.J. Simpson trial. So you had Marcia Clark and Chris Darden were the prosecuting attorneys, and then O.J. Simpson had his dream team, the rich and the famous dream team, Hollywood top lawyers. He had what the heck's their names? Well, he had Kardashian, but then when Rob Kardashian saw all the evidence against him, Rob Kardashian bowed out. Didn't want nothing, but he did represent him in court for a while. You had Johnny Cochran. And so Johnny Cochran knew how to work that juror and work that courtroom. And when you're picking the voir dire, that one thing, like trials, there are so many things that you could put together that happened on, let's say, the defendant's side, that so many things happened that caused him to lose. That lawyer, the defending lawyer, caused him to lose, like so many different things happened. Or so many things happened against the plaintiffs that caused them to lose. And so, yeah, there's could be a lot of different things. But my point is, voir dire. This is how important it is. If you screw up your voir dire, that can make or break you. And I can tell you, one of the biggest reasons that the state lost to O.J. Simpson was they let the other lawyers, O.J.'s lawyers, okay, they would a black guy or a black woman would be up on to sitting there, to be questioned by each side, the defendant's lawyer and the state's lawyer, and so the Johnny Cochran and Shapiro is the one that stayed. Shapiro and Johnny Cochran won the case. So Shapiro and Johnny Cochran, they kept having a black woman or a black man come up, and say, and then each side gets to ask some questions, and then at the end of the day, that's just a figure of speech. They would ask, Johnny Cochran and Shapiro, so do you want this one or not? And or they would ask, the court would ask, this team, do they want this black woman or black man? They would ask each team, the defendant and the prosecuting attorneys, Chris Darden and Marsha Clark. And Johnny Cochran and Shapiro kept saying, we'll take, they don't say black, but they say, we'll take that one, and they're black. And Chris Darden and Marsha Clark could have, said, no, we won't accept that. See, that's how it goes in a voir dire. Because we believe they can say it's not prejudice. It's a fact of life that we have prejudiceness in every country, not just in our states. And so Chris Darden and Marsha Clark could have said, well, you already have 4 blacks on the jury. If everything else is okay, then you can have them. But when they started getting where it was more than half of the jurors were black, that is when Marsha Clark and Chris Darden, who was black, they should have, after 5 jurors, don't get 6, there's 12 jurors, don't even go halfway. After 5 blacks were picked, they should have refused that we feel that if it's more blacks, it's going to be a biased jury, and the blacks are going to want to protect OJ, because blacks have been sit up, right? How did I do this before? Hold on. Okay. Blacks, okay. So, blacks have spent their whole life being screwed by the law, big time. So many blacks go to jail just because they're black. If something happens down in Chicago and they can't figure out who it is, a lot of times they'll blame the black guy that was around, And it was amazing after they came out with DNA. When they came out with DNA, do you know how many blacks they found in prisons all over the United States of America because they were black and in a black neighborhood and all that? it was just phenomenal how many innocent men and some women came out, and they talked when they got out because of their you had to wait a long time to get your DNA checked. The ones in jail, and they came out with this new DNA finally officially allowed to be used. Um, they started like putting people on waiting lists and something like that, and you just all had to wait and wait years. They can only do so many people, and I think they pick. I think they pick who they're going to let um, um, be found out. Have their DNA checked. I don't think. I don't know if it was possible for them to check the whole prison. I don't think they were doing that. I don't think it was. It's too many people or something. I'm not sure about that. Okay, but in the voir dire, the bottom line is that blacks have been screwed for a century at least, and by the judicial system. So so if Marcia Clark and Chris Darden should know, if if they get five, if they let them, if Chris Darden and Marcia Clark let them get 5 black jurors, once they presented a 6th black that they wanted, Johnny Cochran and Shapiro, Chris Darden, I would think you could deny for out of a racial color, because race in this jury could affect if you win or lose. So it's biasing. If OJ was innocent, and they didn't have enough blacks, you might get screwed. But if they got like way more blacks, there's a good chance they're all going to vote to OJ to be free, because the blacks always get screwed in the judicial system. So I think I don't even know. I'd have to look that up, but I would think they would have had a right to say, well, they've already got 5 blacks, and we feel like, blacks have been murdered and arrested and put in prison for a century just because they're black. And so we don't want you to have any more blacks on the jury team. I think they should have said something like that. But I think I'll have to Google that one. I shouldn't have started that conversation without knowing. But I will get back to you on that one. So anyway, it wound up, it was like 11 black jurors and 1 white woman. Now come on. That right there, they lost. Because blacks have been, are still sitting in prison today, innocent. A lot more than white men and white women. There ain't half as many white people that are innocent and mistakenly, got convicted and are in prison. It's mostly all black. So good chance, probably 80% chance, they're going to vote he's innocent. And so I'm trying to teach you. I have to sit up. I can't have that like that. Okay. So that's what I'm trying to teach you. That there is so much involved when picking a voir dire. They put the person out there in a seat, and then each side gets to pick I mean, each side gets to ask each prospective juror, um, you know, have you ever, let's say, have you ever been raped? And then you might ask questions like, okay, so we're doing a lawsuit. We're saying we're gonna do one of your loved ones is in a public facility, and they're being abused, but just mentally and emotionally and verbally. Degrading humiliation, which is a crime beyond a reasonable doubt. But nobody wants to deal with that because it's next to impossible to prove that you're being mentally and emotionally abused. It's really difficult. So we're going to go on that note when I'm teaching you anything about the law. So let me give you a few more law rhetoric. Oh, I did voir dire for you. Okay. Um, so there's so many more questions though. I just have to think. Okay. So if you're fighting for your loved ones being abused, okay? Okay. So you might ask jurors, have you ever had a loved one in a nursing home with any abuse? And then another question might be, have you ever had a loved one in this public facility that ever had trouble? There's so many questions that you have to ask. Like poor, like the part about like if you're poor or rich, that might come into play for some reason. You know what I mean? Like OJ was real rich, and so that really, and everybody loved OJ, and he was real rich. They had more evidence against O.J. Simpson for a murder trial. They had more evidence than any other murder case there's been, But that Johnny Cochran, he used the Bible to the jurors. Black Johnny Cochran, one of OJ's lawyers, he used the Bible to the jury because those blacks, are into the Bible, and he's black, the lawyer, and of course it's beautiful black OJ. He really nailed a really good nail into the freaking board for that jury, and so there's just a lot of I'm gonna think more on this because there's a lot more questions that you have to ask. I think you get to pick your own questions too. I can't. I just talked off the top of my head, so I can't think of any right now more things. But there's so many things involved. Like, are you rich or you're poor? Were you ever bullied in school? Could be a factor in some trial. Have you ever been bullied in school? Have you ever been abused by anyone? Is a big question. And so, if these people are say yes on these questions, then it's like both teams aren't going to want them, So I'm going to look up some more, or think in my mind is what I'm thinking, more questions you would ask to get the best jury you could get. And like I said, you know, the voir dire can make or break you. And that voir dire was probably 90% the reason that Marcia Clark and Chris Darden lost, because there was 11 blacks and a white woman, and they kept on her. She talked publicly after the trial. I guess they're allowed to talk publicly, and I think she said they kept pushing her and dominating her, and they made her kind of just vote innocent. So voir dire is real important. Okay, I'm going to stop it here so we don't have to wait all night to upload this, okay?